Movie of the year so far. Spring just started. What is up, everybody? Random Man here, outside enjoying this nice weather. The sun is beaming in my face and it is 73 degrees out. As I stated in the opening, it is spring. Yesterday was the first day of spring, so happy spring to you all. And I just finished doing my 10,000 steps for the day. So I'm gonna walk over to a chair here under the pergola in my backyard to take a breather. You are here because you want me to bring you my review for Project Hail Mary in one take, based on the 2021 novel of the same name by Andy Weir. The plot of this science fiction adventure film follows a man who awakens on an interstellar spacecraft with no memory of how he got there. Going into this movie, I was highly anticipating it. This was one of my most anticipated films of 2026 for its producers and directors at the helm here. This film was produced and directed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, who I have been a fan of, both of them, for years now. They started out their film career with the feature film adaptation of Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. I thought that was a cute animated film that I remember fondly from when I was much younger. Then after that, they would do comedies, both live action and animated, like the 2012 film adaptation of 21 Jump Street, which I really liked. A couple years later in 2014, they did the sequel, 22 Jump Street, which I liked even more. And a few months before that, they did the Lego Movie. That is one of my favorite animated films of the last decade. And after that, they still went into animation and were a part of the team behind Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And for their work there, they actually won the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature Film, which I thought was awesome. So now they are Oscar-winning filmmakers. And now with Project Hail Mary, this is their biggest, most ambitious project yet, as it is based on a novel from the same author that brought us The Martian, which of course got a film adaptation back in 2015. That was one of my favorite movies of that year, and this looked like it had kind of a similar vibe to it, and also having a bunch of science fiction elements that I am a sucker for, and space epics are something that I always love to see. So, starting out with the cast and their performances, we have Ryan Gosling as Ryland Grace. Now, this isn't the first time he's played an astronaut. He, of course, played Neil Armstrong in First Man from 2018. Armstrong, of course, is famous for being the first man to walk on the moon during the Apollo 11 moon landing mission. But here, in a fictional narrative, Gosling plays Grace, who makes it very clear that he is not an astronaut. He's actually a middle school science teacher who previously wrote a theory on a topic that is connected to why he is recruited to the titular Project Hail Mary. Now, Ryan Gosling, I've always been a big fan of. If you can see from my shirt here, in a world full of Kens, B, and Alan, which, if you don't know, that's my real name. This was part of my Halloween costume in 2023, where I tributed Ryan Gosling's Ken from the movie Barbie. And he's just been in so many things that I think are absolute masterpieces, and he's just one of my favorite actors working right now. Here he continues to prove his versatility and why he is someone that is so likable. And for a lot of the movie, he is really acting by himself here with another entity who I'll get to, but here he really sold me on just being someone who has the smarts and the integrity and all of the different attributes as to someone who can get it done. But there's a lot of hesitance from him too, because what he is recruited for literally has the fate of at least planet Earth and even the universe at large at stake. So yeah, Gosling does great here, also giving us laughter and companionship throughout, which I'll mention further. Then we have Sandra Hüller, who plays the leader of Project Hail Mary. Rocky. She gave one of my favorite leading film performances of the last few years in Anatomy of a Fall from 2023, and I thought that she is game here like she was before, being a class act in everything that I have seen her in. There's also Lionel Boyce as a security guard, a part of this project too. I love him on the TV series The Bear, and he brings some bits of humor as well too with the screen time that he has. And then the only other major player here is James Ortiz. Hey, he has the same last name as I do. Huh, are we related? Nah, probably not. But he is the voice, or the eventual voice, of this character named Rocky, an alien who is basically a rock formation of sorts that Gosling's character meets and befriends later into the journey here. Ortiz is also the lead puppeteer for this character, and he doesn't get a voice at first by him until later on, when the text-to-speech function is used for both him and Gosling's characters to communicate. And you know, he really had a lot of personality here, despite him being somebody that seemingly wouldn't necessarily be one that is full game for that. But with the main performances here, especially from Gosling and Ortiz, they really help carry the movie into being something that is a true epic of science fiction proportions. Now, the script of this movie was written by Drew Goddard, who previously did write the film adaptation for The Martian. And like I mentioned, in how this movie looked like it had a similar vibe to The Martian, it following someone in space who is alone for the most part and having to rely on himself for survival and a bunch of other stuff to do here. In this movie, though, Gosling's Grace has no memory as to how he ended up on a spacecraft that is literally deep into the recesses of space here. He has amnesia for most of it. Throughout the film, we get segments that are intercut of flashbacks to where we see him as a middle school teacher, and then also being recruited to Project Hail Mary all throughout it. And when the movie began, it did give us all of the necessary exposition as to what we need to know about with his character and what the whole mission is all about. Basically, to put it in shorter terms, the movie does explain a lot of its technical and scientific jargon well, but basically there are particles affecting the sun and there needs to be something done about it, otherwise a quarter of the world's population will perish. So that is about 2 billion plus people, and Gosling's character is recruited for that. And at first, I was feeling the running time that the movie was giving us, because the film runs at just over 2.5 hours. Now, I only felt it in the first half because we were getting all of the necessary plot points to get the film going, but I wasn't necessarily on the movie's wavelength initially. But then when the movie got its groove and we further get to see Gosling's character just navigate how he is on this spacecraft and then eventually meeting Rocky, he makes us really care for this character, and also having this relationship be formed between the both of them. And the practicality with Rocky involved here and the voice acting by Ortiz just makes this all more than worthwhile, because it gives an angle of humanity, even if one of the two people here, or the two entities or beings or whatever, are not human per se. And with the mission that Gosling's character is on, it's of course very life or death, and it's very dire and such, but we are treated to how we are going back and forth between the whole parallels of the mission and just how Gosling's Grace is as a character. And the directing here by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller helps it bring it all together. Same with the writing by Drew Goddard, because I've never read the source material for this movie, but it was easy to understand and digest. I was a bit confused with some of the technical jargon at first, but the movie broke it down to where just about anybody watching this can really get the feel as to what the movie is about and everything. But again, once the movie really goes into, I think maybe more so the second act, into the second half of the movie, I think that's when it does really get into, I think, the big stride and strength that it was going for, because the whole angle of this movie, the visual elements, the scale, the spectacle, it's why we go to the movies in the first place. Just how everything is formed and seen in space. First off, the spacecraft that Grace is on, it's a giant elaborate set. It is all practical, which is mighty impressive to say the least. And again, Rocky is a practical effect too, with the puppetry that is involved here and how just believable and tangible Rocky is, being in front of Gosling and moving around and just having like his specific articulations and everything. I thought that was just so cool to see. And how we see a lot of the bigger elements and set pieces, the elements and set pieces and sequences in space. My favorite moment in the movie involves fishing in space for a specific sample, and we are treated to some visuals that have pink hues and elements in the front and background, and I'm amazed that it is not blue or green screen. Allegedly, this movie did not use any of that technology. It's just giant screens and projections and everything, which makes it look all the more believable and just more visually stunning to the eye. That is probably my favorite film moment in any movie from this year so far, because of how jaw-dropping the visuals are. They're so vivacious and vibrant all together. The way this movie is shot, of course, too. Greg Fraser, Academy Award winner for the 2021 film adaptation of Dune, he did an amazing job. He did an inspired job in shooting this thing. No stranger to shooting stuff in space, because Dune is a space adjacent type movie. And the way we get to see how everything moves very elegantly, I think as elegantly as thrilling at times a space adventure film could be, because there's a lot of downtime in this movie too. There's a lot of down moments that I think help bring out some more of the character development and also the emotion and compassion the film has, because it is all about companionship. Also the timing, the comedic timing of this movie, similar to The Martian as well too. The main character has a knack for one-liners and cracking jokes, which in a dire situation like this, how can you not try to have a bit of levity and just have yourself give a bunch of laughs and also a sense of humor to it? So if the movie ends up getting nominated for awards at the Golden Globe Awards, will this be deemed a comedy in the Best Motion Picture category like The Martian was? And it won in that category too. Matt Damon also won for his lead performance in that film as a comedic actor, but we'll see with that. But I know we're barely a week removed from this year's Academy Awards ceremony that happened, but I can easily see this movie getting into so many craft categories, and I don't want to jump the gun too quickly, but I think this will get a Best Picture Oscar nomination, because it has just about everything you would want from a movie like this that is science fiction and a big epic space adventure. Just the likability of the main character, the whole situation, and bringing us some really exhilarating sequences, especially in the second half here, that help bring out more of the elements thematically for the characters, and just also giving us more revelations as to what really happened with Gosling's Grace and how he got to be in this situation, and it having his messaging and all-around sense of hope and the sense of why we go to the movies in the first place, with uplifting stories like these that also provide elements that I think everyone who watches this will get something out of. Like I said, the movie runs at just over 2.5 hours, but I think that once it gets into the second half, it really gets into its peak groove, and I think on a rewatch this will run a lot faster too, because I was just basking in the glory of the visuals, the music I really enjoyed too, the way it is all around moving with how we see everything come together, and just how we are literally taken to another world. If you couldn't already tell, I loved Project Hail Mary. This is what I would say, from the opening of this video, the movie of the year so far. I mean, I also loved 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple, but this movie I want to champion and herald specifically too, because I want it to be successful, even though this is based on a previous work that was written from a different medium. This is an original adjacent film that audiences should seek out and go to see on the biggest screen possible. I saw it in my movie theater's version of a large premium format, and yeah, see it on the biggest screen possible. I know IMAX screenings are definitely going to be the way to go to see this thing. And yeah, all around, I mean, this is a superb space adventure that anyone of any age can go into and just find themselves really enjoying on a visual front, character front, writing, directing, crafts, whatever, all of it coming together. It is something that I highly recommend seeing. I'm gonna also say now too, yeah, just to further confirm, it's so loud, but I'm wrapping this up anyway. Again, this is what I get for doing this all outside. But I'll say for now that even though this is only the 7th 2026 film that I have seen and reviewed for the year officially, Project Hail Mary is now my favorite movie of the year thus far. Once again, I love this film. I highly recommend it. With all that being said, my final verdict for Project Hail Mary is 4.5 out of 5 stars. Thank you all, as always, for watching. Be sure to like this video, comment on what you thought of Project Hail Mary. Social media links in the description. Subscribe to my channel for more, and I'll catch you on the next movie review.